My brother's fiance insulted my family and tried to secure the bag, so I secured his assets in an Iron-Clad Trust. My name is Grace. I'm 24, a newly minted lawyer working at a boutique firm here in Mississippi. I handle estate planning and family law, so I've seen the ugly side of happily ever after more times than I can count. I come from a solid, conservative family. My parents, Robert and Martha, have been married for 35 years. My dad is a man of few words, stoic, straight-backed. My mom is the heart of the home. I have two older brothers, both engineers. William, the oldest, 32, is a mechanical engineer with his own precision manufacturing business. He's married to Elizabeth, a classy, no-nonsense woman, and they have two beautiful kids. Then there's Thomas, 28. He's a civil engineer, makes great money, and lives in Chicago. In 2015, he invited the whole family up to his condo in the city to finally meet the woman he wanted to marry, Valentine. From the moment we landed, the vibe was off. Valentine was beautiful, but in a very manufactured way. She was loud, flashy, and seemed to treat Thomas more like an accessory than a partner. On the second night, Valentine organized a girls' night out. She invited me and my sister-in-law, Elizabeth. Elizabeth politely declined. She's a mother of two and very traditional. Clubbing isn't her scene. She said, "Thank you, Val, but I'd rather stay in and catch up with the family." Valentine rolled her eyes so hard I thought they'd get stuck. "Suit yourself, St. Elizabeth," she muttered under her breath. I decided to go, mostly out of curiosity. I wanted to see who this woman really was when Thomas wasn't around. Big mistake. At the club, Valentine was a nightmare. She snapped her fingers at bartenders, complained about the vodka to get free drinks, and started trash-talking Elizabeth immediately. "Your sister-in-law is such a prude," she shouted over the music. "She acts like she's better than us just because she popped out a few kids. Boring." Then things got worse. Drunk and sloppy, she leaned into me and one of her friends and slurred, "You know, Grace, you gotta test drive the car before you buy the lot. Ain't no harm in sampling other goods before you get locked down. That's what bachelorette parties are for, right?" My stomach turned. She wasn't joking. She was actively encouraging cheating as a lifestyle. I left immediately. I tried to warn Thomas the next morning. I told him about the comments regarding Elizabeth and the test drive philosophy. He got defensive. "Grace, you're just being a conservative Mississippi girl. It was the alcohol talking. Val is just spirited. She's from the city. Things are different here." I warned him that in a state like Illinois, a woman like that could ruin him financially. He dismissed me, so I dropped it, but I told my parents and William to keep their eyes open. Fast forward to Christmas 2015. The whole family gathered at our parents' house in Mississippi. Thomas brought Valentine. I got off work early one afternoon and headed to the mall to pick up some wine for Mom. I was walking past the food court when I froze. There was Valentine. She was standing near the fountain, very close to a guy I'd never seen. They weren't fighting. It looked intimate. Intense whispers, touching arms, that specific body language of two people who know each other very well. I pulled out my iPhone 6 and recorded about 30 seconds of it from behind a display. I went straight home and pulled Thomas into the study. "Where is Valentine?" "She went to get last-minute gifts. She didn't want me to go because she said my gift is a surprise." I handed him my phone. "Watch this?" He watched the video in silence. The color drained from his face. He didn't make excuses this time. He just slumped into the leather armchair, looking defeated. "I knew it," he whispered. "It wasn't a question. It was a confession. I ignored so many things, Grace. I was so stupid." He started listing them, not as bullet points, but as a painful stream of consciousness. "She's been obsessed with my finances lately, constantly asking when I'd put her name on the Chicago condo deed. She'd get angry if I didn't buy her expensive jewelry, saying I didn't value her. And the gym. She started going to the gym at 11 p.m. on Friday nights. Who works out at midnight on a Friday? I wanted to believe she loved me. I ignored it all because I didn't want to be alone." "You're not alone, Tom," I said. "But we need to protect you. We need to flush her out." We came up with a plan. When Valentine returned 2 hours later with some cheap, generic gifts, the whole family, Mom, Dad, William, Elizabeth, and me, was sitting in the living room. Thomas motioned for her to sit. He looked calm, but his jaw was set tight. "Val, We need to talk. My family and I have been reviewing my finances with Grace. Since she's a lawyer, she advised me on asset protection. So, effective this morning, I've moved the condo, my savings, and my investment accounts into an irrevocable Iron-Clad Trust. He paused, letting it sink in. I don't technically own anything anymore. The trust controls it. And because money will be tighter during this restructuring, I've decided we should cancel the big Chicago wedding. We'll get married right here in Mississippi. A small church ceremony. Simple, austere. The mask didn't just slip, it shattered. You did what? She screeched, standing up. Without consulting me, you put our future in a trust? She spun around and pointed a manicured finger right at my face. This is your fault. You little bitch! You and your jealous, stuck-up family have been poisoning him against me since day one. You're just trying to control him. Thomas stood up. He didn't yell, but his voice was like ice. Don't you dare, he interrupted, stepping between her and me. Don't you dare speak to my sister or my family like that. The room went silent. Thomas looked her dead in the eye. The fact that you are more upset about the money than you are about marrying me tells me everything I need to know. But it's not just the money, Val. It's the disrespect. It's how you talk about Elizabeth. It's the late-night gym sessions. And it's the guy you met at the mall today while you were supposedly buying my gift. Her face went pale. That was just an old friend. Stop, Thomas said. He looked exhausted but strong. I'm done. The engagement is off. We are done. She tried to pivot, crying, blaming his cold family, saying we forced him to do this. My dad, Robert, finally spoke up from his armchair. He didn't raise his voice, but when Dad speaks, you listen. Young lady, you have overstayed your welcome in this house. My son has made his decision. I suggest you leave before I call the sheriff to escort you out. She stormed out, cursing us all, leaving her cheap gifts on the coffee table. The aftermath was messy. Back in Chicago, Thomas had to formally evict her from his condo. She refused to leave, claiming squatter's rights. She even brought her gym friend, the guy from the mall, to the condo to try and intimidate Thomas into paying her to leave. Big mistake. Thomas had installed security cameras. We caught the guy threatening Thomas on tape. I ran a background check. The guy had a record for assault. We filed for an immediate restraining order and pressed charges for intimidation. The police escorted both of them off the property. A few months later, I saw Valentine on social media. She was clinging to a new guy, an older, wealthy real estate developer in Nashville. I debated letting it go. Then I remembered how she insulted Elizabeth and used my brother. I created a burner email account. I sent the developer a short, factual message. Check her eviction record in Cook County, Illinois, and ask her about the restraining order involving her ex-fiancé. Proceed with caution. A week later, all photos of the rich guy were gone from her profile. Instead, she was posting those empowered woman memes. Where have all the good men gone? Better alone than disrespected. I showed the post to Thomas. He just laughed, shook his head, and threw his phone on the couch. He's doing great now, by the way. He met a nice girl, a teacher, who likes him for his bad jokes, not his bank account. Editor's note: Thomas almost learned the hard way that love is blind, but luckily his sister had 20/20 vision. This is a reminder. If your partner panics when you protect your premarital assets, they aren't marrying you. They're marrying your wallet. And never, ever let someone disrespect your family. Good on Thomas for finding his spine.